And totally agree. I didn't think it would be, if I talked to you a week ago, I'd be like, no, I haven't seen any companies that are $10 million or up, that are founder-led selling, or, I don't know the revenue range of this company, so I don't want to try and guess it, but I suspect based on their size, I suspect they're pretty large. I've got Chris coming on from Sales Assembly, 2 episodes, and we were just talking about how they've got a fairly, I don't know the revenue number, but they're kind of 50 people and like pretty strong growth, and it's all math. And so that's kind of what we're talking about in a couple episodes. So I really like that. I really like that approach. And I think, especially now, everybody's being asked to do more with less. We're seeing a lot, the math for specialization, still holds. But again, we were seeing companies that had a $5,000 average deal size use SDRs. Like, you've got to be hyper efficient to have a $5,000 deal size and have SDRs and like make it, and for it to be profitable. And what we were seeing was a lot of companies that were leveraged on unprofitable growth. And so I think it's a thing that you want to consider, is like, when and where is the right time and place to scale up your time, and what is the lift that your business is going to get out of it. It might be an unprofitable investment in the next 3 months, if you just look at it on the balance sheet. But if you're able to move up another level in the company as the CEO and say, okay, instead of working on sales, instead of working on lead gen, I'm going to get 65% of the output if I hire this individual. If I'm able to do that, what can I do with that increase in time? And so you might see like a small decrease in a certain metric, but that's okay, because you're able to work on other things that are going to move the needle. It'll be a total net benefit. Apologies for the rant.
Now,
back to you.
Yeah, I think you have a clear understanding. I think it makes a lot of sense to start to consider building out a sales team and stepping out of, or not even stepping out of, because even like at the biggest companies, CEOs, founders are still doing high level visibility building. Like, you may not be having sales conversations today, right? But like, you're on this podcast. So like, this podcast is a revenue generating activity for predictable revenue, right? So you're going to transition, but a founder is always going to be involved at some level in driving revenue for the business. I think in terms of like just stepping out of sales, you have like three challenges. I was thinking a little bit about this before the show, but you have kind of the customer discussion that we were talking about earlier. Like, you really have to have your market, your problem, your solution and result, like that offer and that fit, like dialed in. Like, no salesperson is going to be able to overcome that unless like that stuff's dialed in, right? And the founder is the best person to do that, because they have status and experience and knowledge, and they can sell stuff that's kind of not as built out or packaged up as an SDR and AE could try to talk about. The other challenge is where you just don't have the systems to consistently create conversations and have conversations, right? So if you're just like, if you bring in a salesperson, you just tell them to go sell some shit, right? Unless they're really good or have been salesing for a long time, if there's no enablement, they're going to have a pretty bad day. And then kind of the third leg on that stool is that the company has to be willing to grow enough to make bringing on a salesperson and paying them a base plus like commission so that it's profitable to bring that person in. And salespeople are expensive. And then, a lot of the best strategies advocate for bringing in multiple sales people so that you can have a team, or you can kind of like A/B test those salespeople. And like, with what on-target earnings are for good salespeople and what the margins are for a lot of businesses, you have to have a certain amount of growth, $1 million, couple of $1 million in revenue to even start to consider bringing on and standing up a sales team that goes with that. And the other risk is that you just take your foot off the gas as a founder or CEO. You're like, oh, I get to hire salespeople. And then you take your foot off the gas while you're trying to establish a sales organization for your business, which can be a multiple year endeavor to get that thing working and stood up. Yeah, I know people want to do it in 6 months, but the reality is, like, working with our clients and what I've seen and talking with other people, it's a 12-month, 2-year type of commitment to really get that going well.